All aboard!
Wait. Yeah, we don't have to do a bit every time. I know we started writing them, but now it's kind of a lot of pressure, so we could just do just the name of the podcast. It's The Horrible Idea. This is The Horrible Idea. I'm Jack, and this is Stephanie.
Oh, I mean, all right. That's what we used to do, and I thought that was kind of cool, but then you wanted to do bits, so I thought we were doing bits. But that's okay. So, I'm afraid of scary movies, and Jack isn't, usually, and we talk about that. So, this episode we are talking about the South Korean zombie action blockbuster. Is it a blockbuster? Train to Busan.
I think internationally, yeah. It did really good numbers in India and, obviously South Korea, Hong Kong.
Well, I'm just wondering I guess, so this box office, which we're going to read in a second, is that global or is that just in South Korea?
I think that is global.
Yeah.
So it is not a blockbuster by Marvel Universe
Well, no,
standards,
I consider over 100 million. I mean,
right.
This is very close.
I mean, it's
so
close.
Whatever.
Why don't you tell us some facts about this film?
Sure. This came out on May 13th, 2016, directed by Yeon Sang-ho and screenplay by Park Ju-suk.
The budget was $8.5 million, and they made $90 million over that. $98.5 million. IMDb gave it a 7.6. Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it a 94, and Rotten Tomato audience gave it a 89. And what did our listeners have to say for themselves?
Well, this got 100% positive rating across our 3 listeners and and then a few other people I polled on the side. Well,
Not exactly
I will say
quorum.
Our 3 engaged listeners. Some of them are just not, that's what we're all striving for, is engagement, right? So a few bits of trivia about this one. I was really excited to read this factoid. So there is a U.S. English language remake in the works, which I'm not excited about. But I was very excited to break this news to you, Jack, that it is partnering with Warner Brothers Pictures for worldwide distribution. Gary Dauberman is adapting the screenplay, and he's co-producing the film alongside your best buddy, James Wan. So we know it's going to be...
I'm rooting for James Wan. I want him to find himself.
Your absolute favorite. And I know you put in a fact here about the another film within the Train to Busan universe.
Yeah. Apparently, Yoon Sang-ho said that he wasn't going to do a sequel, and then 3 years later he decided he would. So, yeah. There's not that many pieces of trivia and stuff because this is a South Korean film, and I don't think we know that much about it in the American press. But it had some good word of mouth, and spoiler alert, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. If we move into preconceptions, so I knew about this movie mostly because your roommate had watched it and told me that she really liked it. How are we going to refer to them once you're not roommates anymore? We could cut this part out.
I'm moving.
But
no, I think our listeners need to.
Well,
know
they'll
about
suddenly
this.
stop hearing the sirens in the background unless you move to
who
another
knows?
fire station.
Or they will hear more sirens.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah. So maybe we'll at 3,000 subscribers we'll have a roommate reveal.
Yeah. So I will say a couple of other facts I just found. It is the 6th highest grossing domestic film of all time in South Korea. And then the actor Ma Dong-seok, the man,
Yeah.
your favorite. He used to be Gong Yu's personal trainer. He seems like
Wow.
a personal trainer.
He seems like a thick king, and we will
Um,
get into it.
and also, Edgar Wright, who is the director of Shaun of the Dead, he said it's the best zombie movie he's seen in forever. So,
Wow.
big fan.
Yeah, I agree with that. My preconceptions is I heard of it. I didn't even know that it was a zombie movie. I just heard that it was a movie of note. And then when I looked it up on our big list o movies, I like just saw a little trailer of it and I was like, done.
Yeah.
Peek behind the curtains. We take turns picking movies, either from our big list of movies or, if something pops up in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, usually it's like we'll pick a few options and then the other co-host selects among those options. So,
Indeed. So let's break it. Let's break down this plot.
yeah. While fund manager and divorced dad So Sok-woo tries to take his daughter to see her mother, a toxic waste leak causes a zombie outbreak. The two are trapped on a train with a small band of survivors, trying to make it across a zombie-swarming wasteland to safety in Busan without dying or becoming one of the infected.
Yeah. It is a very straightforward plot, which I really liked.
As honestly a lot of zombie movies are. They don't tend to have very, it's just like survival. Like,
right.
That's...
the only thing this didn't have is, I did say, toxic leak caused the zombie outbreak, and they didn't really,
Yeah,
and
we'll get into that later, but there's frequently like kind of some sort of bugaboo that like causes the zombies. Sometimes it's known, sometimes it's unknown. I feel like fast zombies tend to have a specific origin. But
usually chemical in nature.
Or like rage virus in 28 Days Later. Yeah.
Did you have any questions that arose in watching this film?
Well, my big question is, will someone please kill this awful old man? Which I said so many times during the movie.
Oh my God.
He was the worst.
I mean, I think we have it down in our, list of tropes and cliches, but yeah, there's usually an older person who's like, no, we need to close the door. We can't let them in. We have to save ourselves.
Yeah.
But this guy was extra.
Not even, yeah. And like, there's always, we talk about it later, but there's like always a few different types in zombie movies.
Right.
And yeah, this guy, he wasn't just like, oh, I'm afraid to like take risks. He was like killing people intentionally, like throwing people into zombies to get away. I hated him. Like, so much.
For some money thing, I didn't follow exactly. Like, it was something having to do with, like, I think he owned, like, a bus line or something.
Yeah, but then he's, like, at the end, when he's half zombied, he's like, I need to get to my mother. She's waiting for me, or something like that.
Wow.
Anyway, I asked that multiple times. I was like, please, someone kill this man. I hate him.
Yeah. So was he your favorite character? If not, who was?
Oh.
That was a segue, Stephanie.
You're not going to ask where your favorite guy got his jacket?
Oh, yeah, that was my question. Where did Yoon Sang-hwa get his amazing, I believe it was a navy corduroy, and then he was wearing a off-white, looked like a cashmere scarf underneath it, sort of peeking out, is a very, it was a good cut on him.
Okay.
And, stylish.
So my weird take / misunderstanding of this movie. When we first get introduced to him and he's standing outside the bathroom and the little girl is there and he says, like, there's 2 of them in there. It's going to be a while. And then he shoos the little girl down to the next restroom, and after she's gone, he says, "Don't worry, she's not." Okay, so the place where my head went to was that his wife was like screwing some other guy in the bathroom, and he was standing outside cucking himself.
He was a bathroom cuck.
Yeah, because he was
a
like,
bold choice for a zombie film.
I did not get the whole thing of like, there's two of them in there.
Yeah.
Until she came out and it was clear, like, okay, she's pregnant. I was like,
She was in the.
I really thought that he was just like creepily standing outside listening to his wife get boned in the bathroom. So yeah.
Be a very progressive choice.
Yeah.
So I will go first because he was definitely by far my favorite character.
Well, he's the badass. Yeah.
He's the badass, but he's also like an interesting badass because he's kind of well dressed. He's kind of like cheeky. He's, protecting his pregnant wife. He drops some like random wisdom, and yeah, like I said before, he's just a thick king. When he took off that jacket, I was like, damn.
Well, personal trainer.
Broad and in charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I respect his game.
Yeah, my favorite was probably, I really like Suan, the little girl.
She was adorable.
She was so cute, and the young actress who played her is great. Like in the finale of the film, she's so good, and her performance was so believable that Finn, my dog, actually just like climbed up on the couch and like was like staring at the screen. He's very attuned to when people are like upset.
Sure.
And so he climbed up on the couch and was just like staring at the TV and wagging his tail, which is what he does whenever I cry out of existential loneliness in quarantine. And then I also really liked the young actor, I don't remember his character's name, but Choi Woo-sik, who is the son in Parasite. He plays one of the baseball players.
Right.
So it's great to see him here as well.
Yeah, I forgot her name, but the cheerleader, who I know is like a big, she's a South Korean pop star. She was in Wonder Girls. But she had this like fun kind of like bitchy, bratty, I'm the head cheerleader and I don't give a shit thing. Which they didn't really like. I will say one negative of the movie, like that whole subplot of like the baseball players and their plight was very small. Like they did not get into a lot of these little subplots very much.
I mean, I think that was sort of the one time it kind of came into play. Well, first of all, I thought she was joking about being the cheerleader. But I thought that was like her like little pithy thing that she said.
Man, she had some kind of ID, but I don't know.
Well, whatever.
Maybe.
But I think the one time it kind of came into play was when they're fighting their way through the train and they get to that compartment and he kind of chokes for a second because it's all of his friends that have turned into zombies. So it comes into play there, but there's only so many backstories you can really dive into in these things because everybody just dies. So.
Yeah, and just to talk about the zombie of it all. Some of the best zombies I've ever seen. They had this like really jerky, spastic sort of I don't know. It was just like it was very like biological. Like it looked like they were having these little mini seizures and then
like tweakers.
Regular seizures. Yeah, and it just worked. And there was a whole tonal, like there was this. The beginning, not to say it was like a bad kind of corny, but the beginning was very like sort of melodramatic. Like, he's bringing her to see the mother and they're divorced and there's a whole like weird financial drama and there was like all these things that are very, very normal. And it and the tone of it was just so sort of sappy that when that first zombie like runs aboard and is in the bathroom, it's like really shocking, like the sort of like just sort of chaos of it, and yeah, just like
Yeah. I did like the physicality of them. There are a few points when they just sort of turned into this like swirling like mob of bodies that looked
yeah,
really cool. I will say fast zombies, which we're going to get into. Fast zombies are not usually my favorite, and they're still not. I tend to prefer slow zombies, but these I think were they felt a little bit more like traditional zombies than the fast zombies in like 28 Days Later.
yeah. There was this thing that they did that I really liked, where they would like run so fast that they would either just like run into a wall, or they kind of like just would like run and their arms would almost be like behind them, or they'd be like bent sideways. And it was like their legs were like running faster than their bodies could even like take them. It was a very like interesting,
Yeah.
like,
Well, and like that's how that's how the zombies in 28 Days Later are, which people who get really like serious about zombie movies, which like whatever, you know,
which we will not.
no, I mean I really like zombie movies. It's like one of the few genres of horror that really doesn't scare me that much and that I really enjoy.
Right.
So but you know, and Danny Boyle himself also said that the antagonists in 28 Days Later are not zombies, but a lot of people just consider them that just for use of the word. But they're much the same way, where they're just sort of like mindless, just like running and like smashing into things and then getting up and keep running. And I did say though that these zombies are like the definition of on site, because they just like, if they can't see you, then they just are like,
Yeah.
They like,
I like that aspect of it.
yeah, it was a
One of my
little weird. I feel like it was kind
Yeah.
of convenient to use as a mechanic for like the train going into the tunnels and all of that, but I think it was
Right.
deployed effectively.
Yeah, and that they were like sort of so dumb they couldn't even like work the doors and things like that.
And that's true of all zombies, that, you know, they're supposed to be kind of stupid, but
Right.
and that's the thing. That's like, they don't have brains, and most of them don't have speed, but they just have numbers, and that's what makes them scary. Is that they're just
Right.
like a mindless horde. But
one of my favorite moments that really took me by surprise was when they get, so at one point they get to like some station and they get out of the train, which I liked. It like broke everything up into sort of parts. It was like they got off the train and then they have to get back.
yeah,
on
at
the
first I
train
was like, wait, I thought this was the train to Busan. Where are they going?
right. But when they saw all the military guys in the camouflage and they just see them like from behind for a second, and then the minute like one of them turns around, you know that they're all zombies, and it's like awesome. Just like, and then they're running up a down escalator, which is just a, you know, that means society has broken down.
Yeah, it was yeah, that whole train sequence, and then when they're at the doors and they're like trying to lock like at the top of the swinging glass doors, when they're trying to put the lock in at the top, that was very like effectively chilling. I did feel like the fact that these zombies were so fast, the fact that the dead bodies turned so fast, I was surprised that our main characters survived as long as they did, because I feel like that's the whole thing with slow zombies, is that maybe you can outrun them. And that's like kind of one of the only ways you can really hope to survive. And with these, you can't really outrun them, because they seem just as fast as humans.
Yeah, if not faster.
Yeah. So, but I did go into it once I realized like, oh, these are fast zombies. I was like, okay, pretty much everyone's dying. I didn't get attached to
Yeah, a
anyone.
lot of people died. It really. My other favorite part, more actually, my favorite part is just the when they're taping up their arms and they're getting ready to just fucking kick some zombie butt.
Yeah.
That was just badass. I do so. Zombies are not my favorite. It's really like I will like it or not like it. The fact that it's a zombie movie has very little like weight in that. Like I like 28 Days. I like 28 Days Later. I like Shaun of the Dead. I liked a bunch of zombie movies, but I hate.
Those are like, none of those are like classic zombie movies. That's really funny.
Right. I did like Dawn of the Dead. I liked a bunch of those. Like the I forgot which one. I think Day of the Dead is in the mall. I like that one. Don't like Living Dead.
The Walking Dead?
The Walking Dead. I hate The Walking Dead. Ugh.
I really, some
anyway.
seasons I really liked. Some are less good. Like everything at Herschel's farm was very dumb, but I really like the first season. I really like. There are parts of it that I really like, and I think that's. We can kind of transition into the like horror tropes and cliches here, but that's one of the things that I liked about zombie movies is that it adds in some very fun, like, it boils people down to kind of into cliches or types or, trope-ish characters. And I think that's fun. And then it also is sort of, I enjoy the sort of survival aspect of it and the ways that it kind of breaks down society. And also how it turns, like, a lot of zombie movies, if it's further than, like, the first month or whatever, it turns, like, cities or landscapes into, like, sort of like Return to Earth, or, things will be bombed out in weird ways. Like, I think it gives you an interesting opportunity to mess with, like, architecture and locations. And then,
which even this started doing. Like,
yeah.
Even in it was like 5 hours, but yeah.
Yeah, like the train that was on fire that just like rolled through. And then the other thing is just like I really like the conceit of zombies and the way it is, like I said, it's just sort of this like mindless horde. And in most zombie films, they're slow and stupid, and after like a certain amount of time, many of them are like literally falling apart because they're decaying. And that's also why I think that's also part of the reason why like fast zombies really only make sense if it's a thing like where they got infected with something versus they died, because once you die, your body starts breaking down. You can't run. So,
yeah.
But anyway.
That is an interesting thing about zombies. So, you have like vampires, you have werewolves, you have ghosts,
unicorns.
You have all these different things. Unicorns.
Dragons.
Zombies sort of have the most different ways that they could sort of exist. Like they're like, it could be something scientific, it could be something supernatural, it could be something like never explained.
I haven't really seen any supernatural zombies.
Somewhat true, but I mean that's like the sort of root of them. Like,
well, I guess like I should say not that they're not supernatural, because like, how do you explain it? It's, whatever. But I guess what I mean is, I feel like all of those other monsters or creatures have some sort of like magic or powers or something, like vampires.
There's like a sort of like voodoo zombie, like.
Yes, but like they don't have they're just they don't have like magic or powers. They're just sort of dumb
Right.
and hard to kill because they're
Yeah.
already dead. And they have they have the numbers, which is
right.
yeah.
Well, they're like the creation. Like they are like a weapon almost. Or like a chemical weapon or something like that, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and even the sort of voodoo zombies, it's sort of a chemical, because there's like Serpent in the Rainbow and a couple of other cool movies like that, where it is sort of explained as it's actually a sort of drug that you give someone, and then they go into like a death trance, and then you can control their mind. So yeah, it's a rich and interesting creature. But yeah, this had tropes, and it had tropes not only from zombies, but from like sort of a lot of Eastern stories and just like adventure, like Westerns.
Yeah, well, and just like last week, there was a pregnant lady.
Yeah.
I feel like that is deployed in a lot of genres, but like especially horror, where it's like the ultimate like fragile person is like a child and a pregnant lady.
It didn't really stop the pregnant lady much. I mean, she ran. She just like held her belly.
She had her water broke at one point, right? Wasn't that what happened?
I don't know exactly.
I think her water broke because at first I thought I saw the little legs walking and there was like dripping, and I was like, oh no, the little girl peed herself. But then it was the lady.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
But
yeah, the tough guy. I thought the lead guy, he was interesting because he's sort of like, they did a sort of switch. They did a reverse heel turn, if you will, where he's kind of a dick in the beginning, and he like closes the door on the tough guy, but then like opens it up again.
Yeah.
So he kind of, and then like by the end, he's like saving him.
Well, that's like he's like the redemptive character, right?
Right.
That's like, that is clearly not. He's introduced for you to be like, God, what a slime ball, like.
Yeah, but not like just more like a sort of.
Well, he's like a Wall Street guy. If it was in the U.S.,
they kept saying fund manager like that was like something that was just a well-known thing to be.
Well, like a hedge fund, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be like one of the Wall Street guys, and he would be like taking his daughter from New York up to Connecticut.
Would he be big into crypto now? Would he be trying to sell those,
No, he'd be into NFTs.
And I was about to say NFTs. Oh, God.
The stupidest
Scarier
thing.
than zombies.
Yeah, so speaking of, the tough guy, some of our favorite characters and maybe caricatures, what is your pitch of the week? Back at last.
All right. Yeah, back at last. I've been tossing around some ideas. I have a thought bubble. No wrong answers in a brainstorm. All right, this is what we're doing. Netflix show. It's 6 months later. All right, the outbreak isn't over, but it's sort of under control, and they sort of found a cure, but there are mutations. And so they close off like big sections, and so it's like there's areas, they're like no man's land. And in a secret lab, government scientists brought back one of the zombies. They brought him back because he was so superhumanly thick that he refused to become a zombie. And it's Yun Sang-hwa. And he's resurrected as half man, half monster, all man. And with an unlimited clothing budget and a sick, souped-up, I want to say, matte black Dodge Charger, he prowls the country for mutants, and he beats them up real good. And Only he's ashamed that he's a monster, so he doesn't get back with his wife because that would ruin the sort of naughty adventures that I'll have on the way.
So sort of like Jack Frost in the seminal classic Jack Frost, where he turns into a snowman and he doesn't talk to his wife. Anyway, continue.
So, yeah, coming 2023, the Busan Express, all aboard for adventure, first-class adventure, and that cheerleader chick's there too. Yeah, rock and roll.
Sounds great. Is this a limited series, or what should we put it up for consideration for?
Limited series. Yeah, it's going to be 8 episodes with, it's going to cross over to various other media. There's going to be a sort of like anime, and there's going to be an interactive game.
Can I buy an NFT of his first beheading in the series?
No, there'll be no beheadings. He uses a bat. Listen, this is good, clean fun. Okay?
Well, you could behead someone with a bat. I don't know if you know that, Jack.
What is the horrible idea of this film?
What is the horrible idea? That's my Seinfeld. So I think that the thing it's what's true of so many zombie movies is that when this sort of existential threat that is seemingly unstoppable, incurable, overwhelming, I feel like people kind of are boiled down to their basest instincts, and that whoever you are before it happens, it either brings out the best or worst in you, or sometimes both at different points.
Like whiskey.
But that, like the dad, he has this sort of pragmatic approach at first where he's like telling the daughter, you can't worry about other people, you have to just worry about yourself. But then as he continues to kind of, go through the cycle of the movie, he ends up, spoiler, ultimately sacrificing himself for his daughter, but also, to save his daughter and the I forget the woman, but her. And also, really fights to try to save some of the other people that he's with. Your King Thickness and everybody. And then people like the evil old guy, it brings out the absolute worst, where he doesn't want to trust anyone, even though they seem like they're not infected. He physically throws a young woman into a zombie so that he can get away. And yeah, that survivalism really can bring out truly the worst in people.
Yeah, I think also the sort of that infection has no bias. So sort of like the theory of Carnival, Bakhtin's theory of carnivalesque. So in a carnival, everyone wears masks, and therefore class lines evaporate, and everyone shows their true selves. So in the chaos of a zombie apocalypse, it's similar, because since society is breaking down, people don't have those conventions anymore, and their true self rises. But I think the true horrible idea of this is like in Robotech's Macross saga, a child's song will save us. And in the end, her song saved them.
I didn't get at the beginning that she was singing Aloha Oi.
Yeah.
And when they showed the video.
She did it badly.
But she sings it really great at the end.
Yeah.
Also, sidebar, totally saw you changed your scare factor. You made it lower. It was 6 before, you cheater.
Well, I reflected,
It's okay to be more scared than me, Jack.
So, final reactions. The final countdown.
Yeah, so this was a fun zombie movie. I liked the mechanic of them being on a train. so it was somewhat self-contained within this one place. I mean, obviously they broke out into the station, but then they very quickly go back to the train. I liked all the performances were really great. There's some really cool shots, like there were like 2 overhead shots of when the train was like pulling out of and coming into a station, where there was like a really cool aerial shot of the train. That was really cool. There were certain points where the CG was a little shaky, but, you know, these are horror movies. They don't typically have a gigantic budget, so we'll forgive that. And there were a couple characters that, like, I didn't... like, the 2 old ladies that I feel like I was supposed to have, like, a moment when she touches the glass and her dead sisters on the other side that I just didn't connect with, but... I feel like that's also just part of zombie movies. Like, you know, they don't always have time to get you attached to these ensemble casts, and they have to have ensemble casts because they have to have a bunch of people die and still have some people left. Right. So, but I think it was really effective. I do prefer slow zombies to fast zombies, but I think it was done well here, and especially because it was supposed to be sort of the first days or day of the outbreak, so it made a little bit more sense. And I didn't totally get what was going on with, like, this was like the dad's fault, like his project was like that. I mean,
he was like, I think they were just like dealing with,
he was invested in it or something.
Like they were trying to break some big, like sort of not a scheme, but like they were trying to like short some stocks or something in the beginning. And they were basically like, I think, funding that company that had the spill.
Toxic leak. Yeah. I just was like, I didn't need that. But the young actor who played the little girl was great. I think she was super adorable. I loved her little sass, like when your King of Thickness said, like, oh, he's a bloodsucker. And the wife was like, don't say that in front of her. And she's like, you're just saying what everybody's thinking. And I was like, oh, she's cute. So zombie movies, again, don't really scare me. I would say, and this one honestly wasn't even that bloody compared to like a lot of zombie movies. So I'd give it a 4 just because they several times made it seem as though the little girl was like about to get eaten in the very beginning. And I was afraid of that. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 10 for scare factor. And entertainment factor, I'll give it an 8. It was a little bit long. I think it probably could have had like 15 minutes cut out of it, but I enjoyed it. What about you?
Very good. I enjoyed it a lot. So that first moment when the girl who's like going to become a zombie like runs on the train, and they do a great job of like showing her sort of like just like running and just making the door, but they don't really show her, but you sort of like know. And then she's in the bathroom and she's like trying to tie off her leg, which is like the infected part, and she keeps saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And that scene stuck with me, man. That was like a really, because I think the best zombie movies show that like moment where someone knows they're going to become a zombie and they're like, just like, fuck.
Was that when you texted me and said this movie is actually scary?
Yeah. I think also like, just like her character specifically, the way she sort of like falls and like her limbs are like all sort of bent weird, and then she kind of like comes up. I wasn't scared of them attacking people. What scared me was just like the movement of their body was very like
and some of them had like a broken arm and they were like still
there was a lot of that, and I liked it a lot. So in general I found it scarier than most of the movies we watched, and that kid actor is like, I want her to be in like a new Full House. But to get back to those 2 old ladies, I felt like that and a few other things, they were playing with tropes that like, at least I'm it seemed like they were playing into tropes that I'm not aware of, that are like Korean or in general like Asian sort of like character
Sure, and
archetypes.
yeah, I guess I just didn't. I feel like I had seen them once before, and so I was like, oh, it's them. Okay, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so I gave it a scare factor of 5 and an entertainment factor of 8. And I dug it.
Yeah.
So join us next time, where we will be talking about 1984's... That was a big year for movies, man, 1984.
Yeah.
1984's Chud.
Chud.
Which I will not reveal. I do know what Chud stands for.
Well, now I know because you spoiled it for me.
No, I skipped a word. Review us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't be scared. There are no zombies except for the zombies.
Yeah. And then if you have any interesting facts about 1984, the year, or Chud, or Train to Busan, or the James Wan English language remake, you can let us know on Twitter at HorriblePod, or on Instagram at TheHorribleIdea, or you can email us at thehorribleidea@gmail.com.
And aloha hoi. No. We'll cut that out. All right, thanks.
Wait, what do you say on a train when you leave? Now departing from the Central Brooklyn station. This train goes all the way to Busan.